Hello, everybody. Welcome to lecture 2 for week 4. We are going to do a quick review of essay structure and then jump into outlining. And hopefully my computer doesn't lose charge here. So first, just a quick review of the anatomy of an essay. You start with your introduction, which funnels and draws your reader's attention to focus on your topic. And for the purpose of first drafts, I really want you guys to focus on a strong thesis statement. And I'll be reading through your outlines and seeing what sort of thesis statements you guys came up with last week for week 3 and giving you guys some feedback on that. The second piece of an essay is the body, the magnifying glass. It's not showing up here. It is going to examine the topic more closely and analyze the details. And this is going to be a couple body paragraphs for your personal narrative essay. This is one of the areas I want you to really focus on. And we'll talk about why the body paragraphs are the most important to focus on when we get into out or drafting. And then we've got the last part, the conclusion or the knot that pulls everything back together. Oop, there we go. We talked about the hamburger method in the last lecture video as a way to organize your paragraph, but it also works as a way to organize your essays. So if this is a way, if this is how you thought about setting up your outline, keep on coming back to this metaphor of the hamburger. Okay, so now we're going to talk about drafting and writing first drafts. So, for a first draft, why even write one? You can write a perfectly fine essay in one go round. Well, most of us can't, unfortunately. Most of us cannot write a perfect first draft. And if you can, that's very impressive. Writers will take years and years to perfect their writing. So there is no reason to attempt to write it perfect the first time. Essentially, when we write first drafts, it's the next level up from an outline. It's just trying to get all your ideas on paper, check your outline that your outline is organized correctly and makes sense, and find some of the holes that your outline might not have caught. And it'll serve as a reference point for later drafts, which you will do a final draft, one additional draft for your all essays in this class. So the next 3 slides, we're going to break down some tips for each part of the essay, piece of the essay format, essay structure. So for the first section of an essay, you got your introduction. And really, for a lot of us writers, the introduction is the hardest part. I will admit I hate writing introductions. They are tricky because you want to capture your audience's attention, and there's so much writing on the first couple sentences. In a first draft, your first attempt at writing it, all I really want to see is that you have a strong thesis statement. If you've got ideas, oops, there we go. If you've got ideas for a attention-grabbing first sentence or explanations of and context for your story, for your narrative, include those in your first draft because the more you write, the more feedback I can give. But all that you are required to have for this first draft is a thesis statement. The next section is your body paragraph, and this is where we want to focus our attention. So for a first draft, this is the meat of your paper. There's the most of your writing is going to fall into this category. So know that each paragraph should be focused on one idea, one main idea, to avoid confusion. And you can have a body paragraph structure where you have a topic sentence, a supporting detail, a second supporting detail. And when we're thinking about body paragraph structure, that's when we go back and look at ACEs, uh, axis, Melcon, hamburger structure. The conclusion is another one of these areas that really trips people up, writers in general, up on the first attempt because you don't always know how you want to say the ending of your story or your essay. nor do you always know what the ending of your essay will be if you're writing a really big research paper. So having a perfect conclusion comes with final drafts. But essentially, what you have in a concluding paragraph is it's restating your introduction and thesis, not repeating it exactly, but putting it into another set of words to present the ideas back to your reader. And it also is going to put your argument or story into a larger picture. So for your guys' first draft for your narrative, the conclusion is going to really drive home your message that you want your target audience to walk away with. Ideally, you are not introducing any sort of new material, new information to your readers at this point of your essay because you are wrapping it up. New information would be really confusing for your reader to have to grapple with. So, I want to know more. But then your essay ends. So no new material, just push your argument in the bigger picture and pull all those ideas back and maybe remind your reader of what the thesis was. Some general drafting tips. I like to have my outline printed out and sitting next to me when I'm reading, so I'm not having to hop back and forth between two different tabs while I'm typing up, or even if I was handwriting it, I like to have my outline separate. And the other recommendation that a lot of new writers have a harder time, and even myself with, is you can start at any part of your paper. Just label what part you're starting on. You could start with the third body paragraph. You could start with the end of your introduction. You could start with your conclusion. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can start anywhere in your paragraph that feels like it'll come the most easy. I recommend trying to write as much as you can in one sitting and then give yourself a little bit of time and then come back to the draft. So if you are watching this on Monday, then maybe start writing your draft that's due on Friday today and give it a day, come back, look at it again. This fourth bullet point here, if you are struggling to figure out how to say something, write it ugly. Just maybe put down a couple bullet points, highlight it, or put it in some brackets or a different font to make sure you remember this isn't how I want to say it yet, but I know I need to come back and fix it. And that's okay. I won't be counting you down for seeing things like this, for seeing highlighted or bracketed or notes saying, I need to work on this. You will not be counted down for those types of comments if you're adding that into your draft. And then the last bullet point here is let go of perfection. Your first draft is never meant to be the end all be all draft. That's why we do multiple versions of an essay to make it better with each step. So just write it how you initially are thinking of saying it. If you're talking to someone while you're writing, sometimes they can remember how you said your story and they can help you rephrase the things that you said in your mind. You can also try talk to text if getting the words out of your head is a bit tricky. But it does not need to be perfect. So for drafting, we will talk about your first piece. So as you've been working this week, week 4, I am going to ask you to turn in a reflection. So this is due on Thursday, so you'll be midpoint of your drafting process. And I'd like you to just kind of reflect and think about the process of outlining last week and of drafting this week. Maybe 1 to 2 paragraphs. I'm looking for at least 100 words. About 100 words. So should be, if you're turning in a Word document or you're typing up a Word document, this will be half a page double spaced, about a quarter of a page if you're single spacing. And down here, I've got some ideas for some things you can write about in your response, in your reflection. You do not have to answer every question, and you could pick additional, write about things outside of this, but stay focused on the drafting process. So did you enjoy outlining and drafting? Um, was the helpful outlining process, or the outlining format last week helpful in organizing your essay, or did you find it a bit of a struggle to work with? Uh, do you have any specific concerns about your draft as it is now? That's something I would love to know if you are, and if you have any specific things you'd like me to look at as I'm grading your first draft. Let me know about any of those things. Give me some of your feedback on the process. And your last assignment that's due this week is due on Friday. It is your first draft. So for this first draft, I am looking to see that you are about 500 words. That's about 2 pages, double spaced. Please include a title page. For the 500 words, aim for those 500 words. It does not need to hit. If you were at 450 or 445, somewhere in that range, 445 to 450 to 500 words, you will be good. And you will be uploading your draft to Turnitin. I've got a couple slides here talking about the rubric and how to turn things in to Turnitin, and then I'll let you go. So for turning in essays to turnitin.com, you will find a button at the very bottom of your assignments page, or of the assignment page. And so it will ask you to click the button and load the Turnitin window in a new window of your browser. So click that and you'll get something that looks like this bigger screenshot down here, and you'll just submit a file from your computer. If you need assistance with that, please reach out to the tutoring center. Please reach out to tech help. They can help you as well. And I've got a link to the turnitin.com website's instructions on how to submit a website or submit an assignment. And lastly, this is the first draft rubric. I am looking for you to meet the minimum length requirements of about 500 words, that you have something for an introduction, you've got body paragraphs, and you've got a conclusion. I'm looking for some sort of impact description. So I want to know the impact of the experience and the significance of that experience. And then that you're seeing a narrative structure, a beginning, middle, and end resolution. I want to see your thesis statement that addresses the prompt. And this is a little bit of not necessarily extra credit, but cushion for the first draft. It's not graded as heavily, it's not weighted as heavily as your final draft, but if you are seeking out assistance with the writing study group in the trio room, the tutoring center, and or the Writing 100 lab, or if you schedule a one-on-one meeting with myself, I will guarantee at least a B on the final or on the first draft, pardon me. So if you reach out and seek assistance in any way, you're guaranteed a B on this draft. So please utilize these resources. Make sure you're reviewing the rubric and reach out if you've got any questions. Have a good rest of your day.